Hello! Welcome back to Blockbuster Backrooms, the show where we walk through a horror movie each week and we take a look at how dope it is. Tonight I have one of my favourite movies for all my sexy metalheads out there. A 2015 film, The Devil's Candy, written and directed by Sean Byrne. Sorry if I said your name wrong, dude. This is a film I absolutely love, so let's take a look. We open with silence and a still of a real nice house. We then see Ray, our main antagonist of the film, in bed listening to distorted, disembodied whispers. He starts to play his guitar on the highest possible volume. Well, not really play, more so just loudly strum the strings repetitively while he looks at a cross on the wall. The noise is loud and droning, and you'll hear it a lot throughout the film. It's great. A lady comes into the room and unplugs the amp. I was always a little confused as to their relationship, but I'm pretty certain that she's meant to be his mum. She just looks too young is all, which is what threw me for a loop. Like, don't get me wrong, she's deaf's old enough to be a mum. But Ray isn't particularly young, and for a while, I thought they might be brother and sister. The first words we hear from Ray are, "If I play loud, I can't hear him." His mum gets upset and says she's gonna call Dad to come and take him back to the hospital. However, as she starts to make her way to the phone, Ray hits her with his guitar, and she falls down the stairs. The cross he was playing in front of comes loose and flips upside down. At the same time, Ray's guitar makes contact with her head. This reveals that the wallpaper is actually stained with the silhouette of said cross. Ray's dad comes home to find his wife dead at the bottom of the stairs. Ray is once again droning out that same note on his guitar as we cut to the title card. We get close-ups of paint being mixed and used as a sick guitar riff plays in the background. The painter is one of our main boys, Jesse. He's interrupted by his daughter Zoe, and we find out the piece he's working on is a massive commission for a bank of butterflies. His daughter gives him some shit for it not being metal in the slightest, and Jesse's like, "Yeah, I know, but most people don't like metal." His wife pops in and tells him off for not being ready, as we find out that they have a house viewing to go to. We have this really cute scene of the family in the car together. Joey and Jesse are jamming out to some Cavalera Conspiracy. Don't feel like you recognize the band name? Don't worry, I didn't either, but if you look up Killing Inside, you'll realize who they are. The song's iconic, and also the one in this scene. Speaking of which, this scene is hella cute. Astrid, that's the mum, asked if they could listen to something a little less heavy, and Zoe's like, "Metallica?" Jesse's laughing and is like, "I don't think that's what your mum had in mind." And I don't know, bro. It's just really cute. Left me all warm inside. I like it. Maybe it's because I can relate to it. This scene also helps to show us the family dynamic a little bit. And it's a good one. They're happy and cute, and kinda goals in a lot of ways, to be very honest. If you haven't guessed by now, Zoe and Jesse are metalheads. Also, Zoe has some mean drip for her age, and I wish I looked that cool when I was a preteen. Our babes view the house, and, surprise, surprise, it's the one Ray was in at the beginning of the film. Our girl Zoe ain't impressed by the fact her rooms had a bunch of teddies painted on the walls. Jesse's like, "Bro, you wouldn't even see the teddies under all the posters you have." And they come to the agreement that if there's even one teddy left, they gotta buy Zoe a Flying V guitar, which is our setup for something a bit later in the film. We also see the big garage Jesse would get to use as a studio. The realtor tells them that, by law, he's got to let them know that 2 peeps died in the house. Our babes are like, yeah, we know. It's why you can't sell it. The realtor says that it was an accident, that the old lady fell and her husband just couldn't bear to live without her. I originally thought, man, this dude's a sleazy, but good liar. But now I think about it, Ray's not in prison or hospital right now, and no one seems to be looking for him. So it's quite possible that everyone thought it was an accident after all, which is wild. Like, we're the only ones who know what actually happened. Speaking of Ray, we cut over to him pulling up to a motel. We get the motel worker's point of view as we watch Ray awkwardly looking through the window, before slowly opening the door slightly and squeezing in. It's almost like he's trying to take up as little space as possible. He drops money on the counter and doesn't say a word. Instead, he starts ringing the bell to try and drown out the voice that's starting to come back. To be very honest, from an outsider's perspective, while kinda creepy, Ray just seems so shy and sad and just not quite all there. The way he acts, I feel most people would assume him to be a very shy man, a man full of anxiety, or maybe that he could be special needs. To be honest, this scene makes me feel real bad for him, and I kinda low-key, high-key want to help him. In fact, despite everything he does, I do still want to help him, albeit that does weaken as the film goes on. It never fully disappears. He never looks happy about what he's doing, and I honestly think he just needs some help is all. So then we get to see Jesse and Astrid again. Some Rolling Stones plays quietly in the background as they talk in the backyard of their current home. Astrid stressing, or like, so we will have to go to a new school. This isn't rent, this is a real mortgage. You'll need to do more commissions. Poor Jesse is like, I know, Astrid. Why do you think I'm painting fucking butterflies for a bank? Even though it makes me want to puke. And honestly, yeah man, I feel you. If you're trying to live off your art, you often have to take commissions you don't really want to do. It sucks. But also, despite all of this, we found out that they actually bought the house. I'm excited for them, man. You go, guys. We get a cute montage of our babes moving in, overlaid with the song Conjunctivitis by the band Spiderbait. And it all ends on a low-key foreboding note, which I really dig. The whole montage, the camera's in one stationary spot, as we cut through scenes of him setting up the lounge. Astrid moves over to the camera at the end of the montage. Flipping the view, we see her adjusting a photo of their family, while the last repeating lines of the song play. We just get the still shot of the photo as the chick sings Already Dead, over and over. We stay there for a solid few seconds until the song finishes. Okay, I get how it probably sounds a bit cringy when I say it, but it's good. The way they combine the music with what's happening throughout the film is awesome. Most of the time the soundtrack is more than just ambience, as it's actually being played by the characters, or being used as foreshadowing, almost. It's just really cool. We see more of Ray. He's in his motel room, droning on his guitar again. Of course, there's a knock at the door as a policeman's there to deal with the noise complaints. Ray opens the door just enough to look out. His body language and actions still convey that sad shyness, almost like a puppy when it's getting told off. I honestly kinda love the police in this movie. Our current officer is really nice and speaks softly to Ray. He's not mad or mean or rude. We can tell Ray seems shy, and he acts accordingly, which is so good. It makes me happy. It makes me smile. I'm glad he's so nice. The next day, Jesse's dropping Zoe off at school, and we see that he's a cool dad. Zoe ain't looking forward to it, but he tries to make her feel better. We also get the line, "Don't let school get in the way of your education," which I love. Always does me a giggle. When Jesse gets home, he hears the same whispers that Ray's been hearing. He follows the sound and finds them emitting from where the cross at the start of the movie used to be. I gotta say, this scene always makes me smile, and that's purely because they've used a poster of the band Ghost to cover up the cross stain. For my non-metalhead babes, Ghost is an openly satanic band, and their music slaps. Even if you're not big on metal, I recommend giving them a listen, because they're dope. Anyway, Jesse goes out to his studio and starts work on a new painting. Astrid comes home and gets a jump scare from Zoe. Kinda makes me nostalgic for when I'd jump scare my mum. We find out that Zoe had a bad day at school. Astrid finds Jesse in a trance, painting. He's totally out of it. That night, Zoe opens the door to find Ray. Not the pizza man they were expecting. It's a bit awkward until Ray points out a temporary tattoo Zoe has on her shoulder, saying, "I have one just like that." Zoe, obviously excited and passionate about the guitar, pops off. She talks about how much she really wants a Gibson Red Flying V. She's excitedly talking away, and it's actually really dope seeing how passionate about it she is. Jesse comes around the corner and sees Ray, a large, strange man, talking to his daughter, and is instantly there, Astrid not far behind. Ray talks about how he has to come home now because they won't let me play it loud. I have to play it loud. And that this used to be Mummy and Daddy's home. Jesse's like, "No, bro, we live here now. You have to leave." And he shuts the door. Okay, so the front door has a stained glass window, and it's all white except for a red cross in the middle. We watch through that glass as Ray shuffles and stares at the door. He rings the doorbell a bunch, and Jesse yells out that he has to leave or he'll call the cops. So Ray leaves. The way the scene's shot, though, through the stained glass is so cool. Ray's appearance is all distorted and wild through the texture of the glass. I love how creepy and surreal it is. It has some wild vibes. Zoe and Astrid aren't impressed with how Jesse handled the situation. Zoe is like, "You always told me, treat people how you want to be treated. But you were mean." While Astrid points out that there was clearly something not quite right with Ray, and that Jesse should have been much nicer and more understanding. I find this part really interesting, mainly because as viewers, we know that Jesse did the right thing. However, our girls' reactions hit home for me. I get what they're saying. Jesse could have been much nicer in the situation. As someone who's always worried about accidentally being mean and wanting to avoid conflict, I 100% feel where our girls are coming from. I'm not saying you gotta let the man into your house. Mind you, at the same time, Jesse wasn't really that mean. He did have a totally fair reaction. I don't know, man. The whole scene's great and pulls out thoughts. All three of them are right in my opinion. Later that night, we see Jesse doing some work on the computer with a final warning letter looming next to him. So we know our babes are way late on paying their bills. This hella quick scene is real important because it will help us understand some of the actions made later. The next morning, as Zoe and Jessie are leaving for school, we find that Ray's left his guitar outside by the gate. Zoe's obviously stoked and wants to keep it, but Jessie, not being a dumbass and an actually good character and dad, recognizes it for the massive red flag it is and tells Zoe no. Turns out they're getting her a guitar for her birthday, but Zoe's still disappointed because it won't be her dream guitar, the red flying V. We then see Jessie go to a gallery, and oh man, I hate it. It's the type of art gallery that's real snobby and super hard to get into. But you know, if you got in, a huge amount of your work would sell because all the rich people that go there, you know, the type of people who will try to gatekeep art, where something won't be art and they'll turn their nose up at it, and then it gets put into a super fancy gallery like this one, or a really important person will say they like it, and suddenly it'll be art after all and get bought. Okay, I know I just said something like super specific, but it's the vibe it gives off and I hate it. The receptionist tells Jessie that the owner won't look at an artist's work twice, so we know that Jessie's tried to get in here before. Jessie low-key begs, explaining that he's never had a muse before and doesn't remember creating the artwork. The chick takes a look and is like, I'll see what I can do. Oh man, Jessie's face brightens up so much at those words, bro. Our man's full of hope. Ray's sitting in his car, eating candy, when he notices two kids heading towards the park. The youngest is playing on a swing, while the oldest is playing fetch with their dog. The ball rolls into the bushes and the puppy follows. When he doesn't return, the kid goes in to look for him, leaving the youngest alone on the swing. Ray sneaks up behind the youngest kid and hits him in the head with a rock. While all this is happening, Jessie's sitting, staring at a canvas, waiting for inspiration to hit. When Ray starts to move, Jessie does too. In a kind of high-octane trance, he starts painting onto what was the huge commission for the bank. The scenes of the kidnapping and the painting interlock and cut together really interestingly. Just before Ray's rock comes into contact with the kid's head, we cut away fully to what Jessie's painted. And he's painted the very same child that's just been abducted. The kid in the painting's screaming and has hollowed out black pits over his eyes. The art's got some real dark vibes. It's hecka dope and I love it. Poor Jessie comes out of his trance to find out it's dark. He rushes over to the school to pick up Zoe and he apologizes so much. Of course Zoe's upset. It's only her second day, so she doesn't know anyone. And she's been waiting for hours. Zoe makes him swear on her grave that he won't do it again. And then she realizes that this is her chance. She asks if she can keep the guitar again. And of course, Jessie can't really say no, so our girl gets it. Oh man, it's so wholesome. This is obviously her first guitar, and she can't play it yet. But she's jamming out anyway, strumming random chords, pretending she's playing to a crowd. It's so cute. It's also really nice seeing her so happy after being so sad and upset in the scene before. The film is really good at making you care about the characters. Like, super good at it. We then see Ray taking the abducted kid from earlier into his hotel room. The kid's wrapped up in a blanket, all dead body style, and is wriggling around trying to escape. We then get to see some more of those really dope cut to scenes from earlier, Close-ups of Jesse mixing his paint spliced in with close-ups of blood being washed down a bathtub drain. I don't know what it is about these scenes. I just really, really like them. Also, the composition of the blood against the pristine white of the bathtub looks really good. For such a simple thing, the composition makes my brain happy. As Ray finishes, Jesse steps back and just stares at his painting. Astrid comes in wanting to talk about why he's letting Zoe keep the guitar, but she trails off as she sees the painting, and we finally get to see it and all the things Jesse's added. More children, burning in flames, with hollow black spaces over their eyes. And Zoe's there too. She's painted differently to the others though, and I can't believe it took me this long to realise, but it's because all the other kids are dead. I've watched this movie so many times, and it took me this long to realise. Bruh. I'm a dumbass. Astrid, of course, wants it destroyed before Zoe has a chance to see it. But Jesse says he can't because it's not finished yet. Astrid's like, no, a painting's finished when you want it to be. This is when Jesse explains what's happening to him. Well, kinda. He says that it's like the kids are inside of him, begging to be let out. I gotta say, I really like how the scene is shot. There's spotlights on the painting, but that's the only source of light. So whenever we see both characters on screen at the same time, they're just these dark silhouettes against the colours of the painting. Now, this may just be because I have a huge love of black on top of colour, and it's just my taste from my own art sliding into my like for the scene and its overall composition. But it does look really cool. It also really helps exaggerate and show the emotions Jesse's feeling in the scene, as it forces you to look at the overall body language and shape. Man, I just like it, bro. It appeals to me a lot. That night, we see Ray dig up a bunch of old suitcases before burying a new one. Jesse dreams of fire and goes out to his studio. He wants to destroy the painting, but before he can take a box cutter to the canvas, he hears those disjointed whisperings again and can't do it. Instead, he adds more to it, and it's honestly a dope as fuck painting. Dark, gritty, surreal. Not gonna lie, I think it's dope and would totally display it in a man cave or a really fancy garage/studio that you work in. We then see Ray lying down next to Zoe in her bed. He whispers about how he wanted it to be her, but he wouldn't do it because she's special. When Ray says he, we later learn, through a police report, that Ray believes it to be the devil talking to him. Zoe wakes up and starts to scream, but Ray covers her mouth. Ray says that he will make him do it, if she's allowed, and he doesn't want to hurt her, so she has to promise to stay quiet. Our girl Zoe agrees, and in the moment he takes his hand away from her mouth, she hollers out mega loud and tries to get away. Ray struggles to grab and silence her again as Zoe continues to scream. Oh my lord, guys, this scene. Okay, just imagine for a sec waking up and there's this massive man lying next to you who could knock you out in one well-placed hit. Bruh, I'd lose it. My last 2 brain cells would disperse as I try to figure out what to do. Not our girl Zoe though. Mate, she's super onto it. Okay, so Zoe's screaming out, and oh man, it feels like it's taking forever. You're waiting for one of her parents to run in, but you're starting to wonder if they'll actually come. The scene's drawn out so perfectly. Just as you start to doubt, Astrid runs in. Ray books it, and both girls are yelling out. Just before Ray gets away, Jesse bursts through the front door and almost instantly ends up on the ground. He makes a grab for Ray, but it's too late and he escapes. The scene goes by really fast. Poor Jesse is left with a terrified family and a bloody nose. They talk to a really nice police lady. Jesse's super upset, blaming himself for what happened, but the officer explains that if he used to live in the house, then it's very possible he'd still have a key to get in. She tells them they should change the locks and consider staying at a hotel for the night. They end up going back home, but the nice police officer lady is outside keeping an eye on everything. Jesse also sits guard at one of the windows for the whole night, gripping a baseball bat. It's real sad to see, man. You feel so bad for them. Zoe's all ready for school the next day. Of course her parents are like, "Oh my god, you don't gotta go to school today." 'Cause, they're good parents. But Zoe just sadly exclaims that it's safer than being at home. Man, she's so scared and sad. I feel bad for her, bro. Man, I feel bad for all of them. None of them deserve this. Jesse drops her off at school, and you can tell how much he blames himself for everything that's happened. As he's having a small breakdown in his car, his phone rings. It's the gallery. Apparently the big boss liked his new stuff and wants to come over to see what he's working on. Jesse's haircut into it, and the lady says that he'd be coming at 3 today. Of course, that doesn't work, because we gotta pick Zoe up. But Chick is like, I can push it back till 2, but that's it. Bruh, poor Jesse is pacing the house as he waits for this dude. The big boss finally turns up, and he loves Jesse's work. They end up sitting down to talk, but Jesse's clearly agitated and in a hurry. Man, the boss is a flippin' dongle though. God, I want to punch his smug, dumb face. Jesse explains that he really has to go and pick up his daughter from school. And while he can't get into it right now, you just have to trust that it's super important that he isn't late today. This rich little bitch baby basically lets Jesse know that if he won't sit and drink his expensive alcohol with him, then he can kiss his gallery space goodbye. This only presents a problem because, as we know, our babes are super tight on cash and really need the extra dough. It also makes me real mad, which is the intention, so it's done well. But you should never treat people like this. Ever. I don't care who you are, it's not okay. Oh, this old man makes me so mad. We then watch Jesse trying to speed down the road, but he gets stuck behind a slow-ass white car. Bruh, they don't even move to the side or anything to let him pass, even though they're the only 2 cars on the road. I was always told to go with the flow of the traffic, but if someone's on your ass this bad, it's better to just pull to the side and let them go. Common courtesy and common sense. So, our boy Jesse tries to overtake them, but his back tire blows. But only 2 cars on the road, and they almost end up crashing into each other. Mate, the other car doesn't even stop. Jesse's car won't start, and his phone won't work. Thus, our man books it, and it looks so slow. I know he's running full tilt, but the sheer distance that he has to run just makes it feel like he's barely moving. He gets to the school, but so he's gone. God, I feel so bad for all of them. Jesse's frantically running around looking for her. He calls Astrid, and she bursts into tears. Zoe wakes up to see Ray above her. She's all bound up in duct tape with a big graze on her head. Ray leaves to go get ready, and we get some more of those cool cut-between scenes from before. Only this time, it's between Ray and Zoe. They're nowhere near as quick as the other ones, but the strange slowness to some of them adds its own intensity to the overall vibe. It's great. And oh man, I love Zoe, bro. She realizes that she can see and reach one of the ends of the duct tape and starts to pick at it. She manages to get free, or enough free, that she can stick it to the floor. She unrolls herself from it, and the moment her arms are free, she tears the rest of the duct tape away. Whole time I'm cheering her on, eh? Nothing like a smart character acting like a real person. For real though, I'm super invested into Zoe and Jesse's character. She's climbing out the bathroom window when Ray comes in. He tries to pull her back, but she doesn't. Our girl escapes. Bro, she meets up with her parents at the police station and is like, "You swore on my grave," to Jesse. Oh man, it hits hard, bro. Like really hard. Not to mention, poor Zoe now has streaks of grey in her hair from all of this, and oh man, all they wanted to do was buy a house. The police are like, "Yeah, nah, you need to go into witness protection until we catch this guy, eh?" While we're sorting this out, we see Ray buying a thing of gas and a lighter, just as awkward as when he tried to get that hotel room. As the film progresses, the colour red becomes more and more common. It's really dope. I know it's meant to be symbolism, probably for the rising danger, as we draw to the climax of the film, and also because of the tie-ins the colour has with the devil, which I haven't even begun to touch on yet. But anyway, they all go home to pack suitcases. There are 2 cops outside waiting and packing things into their cars. Jesse is in his studio, and he finally destroys the painting. The girls come downstairs and are like, "Bruh, where's Jesse?" When we hear a crash outside, followed by screaming, Astrid sneaks over and peeks out the front door to see that Ray's crashed into the cop cars, pinning the female officer and seriously injuring the other one. He kills the officers with a rock and picks up one of their guns. Jesse comes in through the back door, and we see the gun flash through the red stained glass on the front door as the shots echo out. Jesse yells at the girls to run as he hunkers down with a baseball bat, hoping to go for a surprise attack. We see that Ray does indeed have a key as he lets himself into the house. Jesse goes for his attack, fails, and gets shot as he tries to get away. Ray starts to look around and he finds the girls. We don't see what's happening, just hear screams and a gunshot before he reappears, dragging Zoe with him. Honestly, I love how they shot this part. It's really well done. Another shot I really love is just a still from a viewpoint of the front door. Jesse's body's just laying there, and it's silent for the most part, until we hear some grunts as Astrid crawls out from the room our 2 girls were hiding in. Ray comes back in with Zoe and the gas. Seeing Astrid still alive, he puts the gun to her head. I love the sound design for this scene. The sounds of everyone kind of drown out and are replaced by a kind of ringing. Then the gun clicks. Sound returns. Ray throws the gun away and just goes upstairs with Zoe, tipping a bunch of gas out behind him. He sets it alight and disappears. Astrid gets over to Jesse and begs him to wake up. And he does. Our man drags Astrid outside, gets a ladder from his studio, and breaks into Zoe's room through her window. Ray and Zoe are standing in a ring of fire around her bed, and everything has this dope red hue to it. Jesse ends up tackling Ray, and they disappear behind the flames. Ray reappears and walks straight through the fire towards Zoe. And let me tell you, it looks fucking dope. His beard starts to light up as the fire latches onto him, shrouding his face in embers as it catches on his stubble. He smiles at Zoe, the flames licking around him, his eyes reflecting the bright orange of the fire for a truly demonic and unsettling appearance. And then bam! Jesse rises up, hitting Ray with the guitar he gifted Zoe, over and over and over, until it snaps, before driving the broken neck through Ray's beaten body off-screen below the flames. It looks metal as fuck. I love it so much. It honestly looks so cool. The dark red of the blood both contrasting, yet somehow also merging and blending into the flames as Jesse protects his daughter. Jesse manages to get Zoe to jump through the flames. Catching her, they both get out of the house. Climbing down the ladder, Zoe scrambles over to her mum. Jesse stumbles away from his family. Dropping to his knees, he pushes away the loose soil, revealing the suitcases that Ray had buried. And that's it. That's the devil's candy. There is so much in this movie I haven't even touched on, like the fact Ray believes the voice he's hearing to be the devil, which explains why, after not being able to play his guitar to drown out the voice, he's always playing Christian TV channels and documentaries about the devil. There's definitely some lowest of key supernatural vibes going on, what with the voices. But for the most part, everything is super grounded and feels like it could actually happen, which is wild and not something we really get a huge amount of in horror, to be very honest. I also absolutely must mention Stephen Kasner. Stephen is the man behind the art in the movie, and the art is insane. You can tell how much work and effort was put into the paintings. They really stand out, look awesome, and I dig them so much. It's actually kinda wholesome too, as I found out that Stephen found working for the movie rather therapeutic and really helping. There's also some really dope surrealism throughout the film that I only vaguely mentioned in passing. To be honest, I feel like I'm doing this film a bit of an injustice. I've had a real hectic week, which has made life and finding time rather difficult. Maybe when I'm less pushed for time and have more experience under my belt with reviewing, I might come back to this film and we could do a little bit more of a deep dive. All in all, The Devil's Candy is a really great film with an amazing soundtrack. And that's not just because of some of the iconic songs in it, but also with the original tracks and how they incorporate it all into the film. The art is amazing, and they do a seriously great job at making you feel like Jesse's actually making and working on these pieces. You'll be surprised how many films fail at making it feel like the artist character is actually making the artworks. On top of all this, we have scenes shot in interesting, appealing, and dope ways, as well as a cast full of likable and smart characters. I cannot recommend The Devil's Candy enough. Alrighty guys, this has been Blockbuster Backrooms. If you'd like to listen to more episodes or give me your thoughts, you can find me at mpr.nz/show/Blockbuster Backrooms. I'm also across most social media as Shit-imma-artist. That's IMMA. because we don't use proper grammar around here. You can also find me on YouTube under the same names. Remember to get some sleep and drink plenty of water. You all have a good night.